24 years. And I had, at the end of my tenure there, if you will, the last 4 years, on 4 out of 5 days when I worked out in the yard, I had to wear ear mufflers like they wear at airports, because every neighbor, and I live in a cul-de-sac, unfortunately had a barking dog, and it drove me nuts. Absolutely drove me nuts. Of course, I was close to Oro Blanco and Doherty High School. We had bikes and cars all up and down the street, so the ambient noise there was terrific. Helicopters flying overhead, and it was just, unbearable. So we shopped for property. This property we found was really quiet. We heard Dragon Man in the distance. We heard, of course, Aztec down 2.5 miles away. That's a real muffled sound. Early in the morning, you hear 94 and you hear 24 as well, and it's gone. The weekend, sometimes I have to swallow to make sure I haven't lost my hearing because it gets so darn quiet. I have no place else to go. This is my last house. I have everything in the world tied up here. And our greatest concern, like everyone else who lives there, is if we get this to be so overpowering and be so detrimental. I quoted a term to you before, and it's called an incurable external obsolescence, that the people that praise real estate say when you introduce something like a motorcycle park, a sewage plant, nuclear power plant, anything like that that's deleterious to the neighborhood, your property values go down. My retirement is really tied up in the property of my land escalating like everyone else is a 7% compounded a year. I'll retire in 15 years and I don't have that kind of appreciation in my land because of this external obsolescence. I'm up a creek for a decent retirement. Self-employed, I haven't had that kind of advantage a lot of people have when they have pensions. And so this really is going to impact the heck out of me. So does the county have any plans like the SDS people did to come by and compensate if they take their land away or you destroy my property value, or this does, the park does, to help me get past retirement age? Because, man, I don't have any more years left in my life after I'm done working.
I'm not aware of any plan at this point, but we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it if necessary.
Nice to cross it now, so it'll alleviate some of our fears and concerns.
We haven't done anything yet. We said one master plan meeting.
But the city came to us when they were doing their deal, and they had this already sitting out there saying, look, don't be disturbed. We're going to have this kind of a park. We're going to have people that are going to be on the lake. They're not going to be, ski-doos. They're not going to have any problem with jet skis making the noise, and they're not going to have anybody else making noise summer or winter. It's going to be pedal boats. It's going to be electric, trolling motors, etc., and sailboats. So sure. They allayed those concerns right away, and they said, if in fact we buy you out, this is going to be a fair market value plus an incentive. And so therefore we had some hope. I was one of the lucky ones. I got to stay.
Why would they want to buy you out? We're getting off on the subject.
Well, everybody else. Well, because they had a 2,000-foot setback from the edge of the water pond, satisfied the EPA. No. All my neighbors got bought out, and I was the only one that got to stay.
Okay. Well, it should be very nice, I hope.
It would have been if I had the lake, but now I'm going to have this, so I have one up and one down. So I don't really
We'll do that. If this actually happens, we'll do the best we can to be the best neighbor we can.
I'm going to write that down here.
Please, write it down. I've said it many times.
I heard it.
Any other comments at this point? We've got a few new people coming in the room. Anybody? Yes, sir.
I just came late. If this is going to be a single access point, why not just do sound checks of some sort as the bikes come through? So they need certain, so they have legal mufflers, which is 96 or less decibels.
Sure. Did you one of our handouts?
I did.
Okay, it talks about that in the handout.
Okay.
Yeah, and we agree with you 100%.
Okay.
And there will be checks. The type of checks will still be debated at this point. It doesn't need to be every day that they come, or is it every 6 months, every 3 months, and we need to talk about how that's going to work.
Yes.
Sure.
Is this facility going to generate revenue for the county?
We hope so. It's not a noise abatement issue, but there will be a fee paid as you enter the park, and a percentage of that fee will be paid back to the county.
And are you all aware that the majority of all the parks that are around the country all report negative cash flow?
Once again, we don't think that's possible at this point since the county won't be running the park, but we haven't gotten that far down the road yet. We haven't built anything. Let me summarize what you've asked me to do so I'm clear on that. What I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm using the wrong acronym, is that we need to include the ASE chart for particular motorcycles.
SAE.
I'm off to a bad start.
Motorcycle Industry Council, MIC.
SAE.
SAE and MIC.
MIC stands for?
Motorcycle Industry Council.
Is that part of the SAE?
That helps the SAE.
Okay. Is it one chart or two charts?
Well, it's a booklet.
Okay. But they're the same book? Same book?
Yep.
Okay, so, I'm sorry.
If you go to the national NOVAC, National Off-Highway Vehicle Association, you can order the booklet and how the sound testing procedure is done. They'll send it out to you for free. I mean,
What my hope was is to come back next time to this group and others that join us with some sort of a draft recommendation on noise abatement. And I wanted to include that text information in here. So there was discussion tonight on testing at property lines. I need to do some work on that. I'd like to find examples of how that would work, and if you were to do it, how would you staff it? How would you control it? Does it vary during the day? It seems challenging to me, but I'm certainly willing to do the research on that and see.
Yeah, you can get on the net and just do a search for that. I found it at Snohomish County, Washington, where they go out and they do this very thing.
For the OHV park. There was discussion tonight on the county's noise ordinance, and I'd like to get an opinion on that as well, the event versus regular activity, and let me come back to you with that. What else am I missing that we talked about that requires further research?
This is the question, would it be possible for you to email out the proposed resolution so we can look it over before the next meeting?
Yeah, I could make my very best effort to do that. I want it to be as accurate as I can, but I'll try.
Well, let me understand the intent of SB 63, the Senate bill. Is that going to supersede the County of Norris ordinance? Is that the intent?
What I was asking for is what is somewhat standardized around the state of Colorado as far as noise control efforts. And he sent me his first email talking about that and said, oh, by the way, at this point they're also passing the Senate bill as well, or at least it's in process. So I just gave that to you for reference. I'll try to find out if somebody wants to know the status of this bill. I've not checked on that. So. And I would need an attorney's opinion as well of how that affects the county's noise ordinance versus this Senate bill as well. Anything else that I've missed, forgotten, should have heard better?
The hiring of the consultant, I think, is a key thing. To me, I think you need a sound professional to come in and check the levels, do a simulated, not a simulated, well, get some real motorcycles and get some real monitoring points around the adjacent properties where there is residential use, either planned or existing, and find out what the noise levels are. I think that's absolutely critical to understanding more about the acoustics of the whole situation. I mean, we can do this forever on paper, and really it doesn't make a lot of difference. I mean, you're still going to meet this 55 dBA regardless of what's going on down at Aztec, the way I read the code.
Right.
So it's sort of like interesting information, but it doesn't. I think the key thing is to get real data.
Well, it appears to me that most people have tried to control the noise at the point, the motorcycle itself versus the property line.
Well, you're not trying to control the noise of the property line. You're just trying to understand what the levels are under a simulated, real life simulated, if you will, what the park would be like. In other words, you need to put some numbers on how many people are going to be riding on the trail at one time. If they do it enduro, if that's part of the mix, understand how many bikes there are and what the timing is, and under those conditions, you try to set up something that is representative of what the park will really be, to get a good handle on what. I don't think you'll ever resolve this noise issue if everybody's, still doing this. You need some real hard data, and you need an independent consultant to help you do that, and it's going to cost some money. Oh, by the way.
I understand.
The residential density in that area? You seem to have a lot of figures.
Oh, I mean, how many houses there are?
Yeah.
In our neighborhood, property owners and homeowners, about 500. They're going to be in the same impact we have now from Aztec, because they're set back the mileage proportionate to what we are now from Aztec. They will be within that circumference or that cone of noise.
So we're talking 2 or 3 mile radius at least.
Exactly, because I'm 2.5 miles now from Aztec, so you're moving that within 2,000 feet of me, so that's 2 miles. And the problem with the amphitheater that's there is just it amplifies it, just like one of those old hearing horns,